My husband's family threw me out of our home the day after his funeral, calling me a gold-digging ghetto black woman who trapped their son. 6 months later, they saw me at their family bankruptcy hearing as the lawyer who held the deed to everything they owned. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the day my world ended. Twice. Michael died on a Tuesday. Sudden heart attack. He was only 37 years old. No warning, no prior health issues. Just collapsed in his office at Bancroft Enterprises, the family real estate company. Dead before the ambulance arrived. I got the call at work. His mother Patricia's voice, cold and clipped. Michael had a medical incident. He's gone. The funeral is Friday. We'll handle the arrangements. She hung up before I could speak, before I could scream, before I could process that my husband of 7 years, my partner of 10, was dead. The funeral was a blur. The Bancrofts, his mother Patricia, his father Robert, his sister Caroline, they planned everything without me. Didn't ask my input, didn't include me in decisions. I showed up in black to my own husband's funeral and sat in the second row, because the first row was for family. I was his wife, but to them, I'd never been family. I'm Kendra, 35 years old, black, successful paralegal, working my way toward finally practicing law. I met Michael 10 years ago at a charity fundraiser. He was the handsome white guy from old Atlanta money who made me laugh, who saw me as more than my background, who loved me fiercely despite his family's horrified reactions. "Are you sure about this girl?" his mother had asked him at our engagement party, loud enough for me to hear. "She's so different from us." Different, meaning black, meaning I went to community college before transferring to university, meaning I grew up in College Park, not Buckhead, meaning I didn't summer in the Hamptons or winter in Aspen. Michael had defended me then. "Mom, I love her. That's all that matters." But it wasn't. It never was, not to them. The Bancrofts tolerated me for 7 years, barely. Every family dinner was a minefield. Every holiday was a reminder that I didn't belong. Patricia would introduce me to her friends as Michael's wife with a tight smile. The implication clear. Temporary, unfortunate, not what we wanted. "Where did you go to school again, Kendra?" she'd ask in front of guests, knowing the answer. "Oh, community college first? How resourceful." "What does your father do?" Robert would ask, also knowing the answer. "Postal worker? How nice. Blue-collar work is so important." Caroline, Michael's older sister, was the worst. She'd forget to invite me to family events, would post pictures of the Bancroft family that somehow never included me, would make comments about Michael dating down that she'd play off as jokes. Michael would apologize privately. "They just need time. They'll come around. Don't be so sensitive." Don't be so sensitive. Like their racism was something I was imagining. Like their contempt was in my head. But I loved Michael, and he loved me, so I endured. The day after the funeral, I was at home. Our home, the beautiful craftsman in Virginia Highland that we'd bought together 3 years ago. I was sitting in Michael's favorite chair, wearing his sweatshirt, staring at nothing, trying to understand how I was supposed to exist in a world where he didn't. The doorbell rang at 9 a.m. I opened it to find Patricia, Robert, and Caroline, all dressed in black, all wearing the same expression, cold determination. "Kendra, we need to discuss Michael's estate," Patricia said, pushing past me into my own home. They sat in my living room like it was theirs. Patricia pulled documents from her designer handbag. "We've consulted with our attorneys. Michael's will was updated 6 months ago. Everything, the house, his trust fund, his portion of Bancroft Enterprises, his life insurance, goes to the family estate." I couldn't process the words. "What?" Robert spoke, his voice matter-of-fact. "You're not entitled to any of Michael's assets. He made his wishes clear before he died." That's impossible. We talked about our future, about adopting a child, about growing old together. Michael would never. Michael came to his senses, Caroline interrupted. He realized that his assets should stay in the family. The real family. Not, she looked me up and down with disgust, opportunists. Opportunists? I'm his wife. Patricia's smile was cruel. You were his wife, past tense, and according to his will, you inherit nothing. This house is held in a Bancroft family trust. You are merely a resident. Now you need to leave. Leave? This is my home. Robert stood towering over me. This is Bancroft property. You have 48 hours to vacate. Take your personal belongings only. Nothing of Michael's, nothing of value. I looked at the documents Patricia held. Michael's signature at the bottom, dated 6 months ago. Everything to the Bancroft estate. Nothing to me. I don't believe this. Michael loved me. He wouldn't do this. Michael loved you, Patricia admitted, her voice dripping with false sympathy. But love and inheritance are different things. He understood that his wealth, his legacy, needed to stay within proper channels. Not, she paused, with people who might not appreciate its value. The implication was clear. People like me, black people, poor people, people who didn't belong. I'm calling a lawyer. Feel free, Caroline said, pulling out her phone. We'll wait while you try to find one who'll take your case against the Bancroft legal team. Oh wait, you can't afford a lawyer, can you? Not on a paralegal salary. They'd thought of everything. Patricia stood, smoothing her black dress. 48 hours, Kendra. We'll be back with movers to collect Michael's belongings. Pack your things. We've brought garbage bags to make it easier. She held out black trash bags, industrial-sized, like I was actual garbage they were disposing of. You can't do this. You can't throw me out the day after I buried my husband. We just did. Robert moved toward the door. If you're not gone in 48 hours, we'll have the sheriff remove you. Don't make this uglier than it needs to be. Caroline paused at the door, her voice sharp. You know what the saddest part is? You actually thought you belonged. That marrying Michael made you one of us. It didn't. It never would have. You were always temporary. Always beneath us. Michael finally realized that before he died. At least he did one thing right. They left me standing in my living room, my husband's living room, apparently, with garbage bags in my hands and my world crumbling around me. I called my sister Maya, sobbing so hard I could barely speak. They're throwing me out. Michael's family. They said he left me nothing, that I have 2 days to pack my life in trash bags and leave. Maya arrived 30 minutes later, found me on the floor surrounded by wedding photos, Michael's clothes, the life we'd built. This is illegal, Ken. You have rights. Community property, spousal inheritance. They have lawyers, expensive ones. I have $847 in my checking account and no way to fight them. We packed. For 2 days, while I was supposed to be grieving my husband, I packed my life into garbage bags, clothes, books, my laptop, personal items only. Patricia returned on day 2 to supervise. Actually stood there watching me pack, making sure I didn't steal anything. I picked up our wedding album. Patricia snatched it from my hands. That stays. Those are Bancroft family photos. Those are pictures of my wedding, Michael and me. Michael's wedding. The photos belong to his family now. You're not family anymore. She went through my bags, pulled out a necklace Michael gave me for our 5th anniversary. This was purchased with Bancroft money. It stays. Michael gave that to me, and now I'm taking it back. Even my engagement ring. She demanded it. Bancroft family heirloom. You don't get to keep it. I pulled it off my finger. The ring Michael had proposed with on a beach in Tybee Island. The ring I'd worn for 8 years and handed it over. Patricia examined it, satisfied, dropped it in her purse like it was nothing. There, all done. The movers will be here tomorrow for Michael's things. Goodbye, Kendra. I'd say it was a pleasure, but we both know that would be a lie. I left my home with 3 garbage bags of belongings, my laptop bag, and $847 in my bank account. 7 years of marriage, 10 years of relationship, gone. Michael was dead. His family had stolen everything, And I was homeless. Maya drove me to her apartment in silence. When we got there, I finally broke completely. He left me a letter. I sobbed, pulling out crumpled paper from my pocket. 6 months ago, said he loved me. Said if anything happened to him, I'd be taken care of. Said the house was mine. The money was mine. Everything was mine. He lied, Maya. He lied about all of it. Maya read the letter, her face darkening. Or they lied. Ken, what if the will is fake? How would I prove that? I can't afford to fight them. Then we find another way. What other way? I have nothing. They took everything. Maya looked at me, something fierce in her eyes. They didn't take everything. They didn't take your brain. They didn't take your education. And they sure as hell didn't take your rage. So let's use all three. I didn't understand then. I was too broken, too devastated, too destroyed. But I would understand soon. Because the Bancrofts had made a critical mistake. They'd assumed I was powerless. They'd assumed I was just a paralegal from the hood who'd gotten lucky. They'd assumed wrong. And I was about to show them exactly how wrong they were. 3 weeks after being thrown out of my home, I was living on Maya's couch, scrolling through Michael's old emails on my laptop, when I found something that changed everything. An email from Michael to his therapist, Dr. Sharon Chen, dated 8 months ago. Dr. Chen, my parents discovered I'm seeing you. They're furious that I'm discussing family business with strangers. My mother threatened me today, said if I choose Kendra over the family, I'll be cut off completely. She doesn't understand. Kendra is my family. She's the only family that matters. I need to protect her. I'm meeting with my lawyer next week to make sure everything is ironclad. If anything happens to me, Kendra gets everything. My parents can't have it. They'll try to take it from her, but I won't let them. I'm documenting everything. My hands shook reading it. Michael had been planning to protect me, had been actively working to ensure I'd be taken care of. So why did the will say otherwise? I kept digging. Found more emails. Michael to his lawyer, James Peterson. Not the Bancroft family lawyer, a different one. James, I need you to draft a new will. Everything to my wife, Kendra Washington Bancroft. The house, my trust fund, my shares in Bancroft Enterprises, life insurance, all of it. My family can't know. They'll try to interfere. Can we keep this confidential? James's response: absolutely. I'll have the documents ready next week. We'll execute them at my office with independent witnesses. Your family won't know unless something happens to you. That was 7 months ago. I called the number in the email signature. A receptionist answered. Peterson and Associates. Hi, I'm Kendra Bancroft. My husband, Michael Bancroft, was a client. He passed away 3 weeks ago. I need to speak with James Peterson about his will. A pause. I'm so sorry for your loss, Mrs. Bancroft. Let me transfer you. James Peterson came on the line, his voice warm and sympathetic. Mrs. Bancroft, I was heartbroken to hear about Michael. He was a good man. I've been trying to reach you, but the number I had wasn't working. His family threw me out of our house. They said Michael left everything to them. Silence. Then, that's impossible. Michael's will explicitly leaves everything to you. I have the original in my safe. Signed, witnessed, notarized. Everything legal and binding. My heart stopped. You have his will? Yes. Executed 7 months ago. Everything to you. The house held in a family trust is to be transferred to your name. The trust fund of $4.7 million. His 30% ownership stake in Bancroft Enterprises, and his life insurance policy of $2 million. It's all yours. I couldn't breathe. The Bancrofts presented a different will. Said Michael changed it 6 months ago. Left everything to them. 6 months ago, that's impossible. I saw Michael 6 months ago. He came to my office specifically to confirm the will was secure. He was worried about his family. Said they discovered he was setting boundaries with them, and they weren't taking it well. He wanted to make sure his will couldn't be challenged. Can I see it? The will you have? Absolutely. Can you come to my office today? I borrowed Maya's car and drove to Peterson and Associates in Midtown. James Peterson was in his 60s, black, with kind eyes and a firm handshake. He pulled Michael's will from his safe. I read it through tears. I, Michael Robert Bancroft, being of sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath all my worldly possessions to my beloved wife, Kendra Washington Bancroft. She is the love of my life, my partner, my family. I leave her everything because she deserves everything. To my biological family, I leave nothing, as they have taken enough from me and from us. It was dated 7 months ago, signed by Michael in front of 2 witnesses I didn't know, notarized by a notary public, not the Bancroft family attorney. This is real, I whispered, very real, and legally binding. If the Bancrofts presented a different will, it's either a forgery or Michael executed 2 wills, which would be highly unusual and problematic. Can you help me fight them? Mrs. Bancroft, I'll do better than that. I'll represent you pro bono. Michael was my friend, and what his family is doing to you is unconscionable. For the first time in 3 weeks, I felt hope. But I needed more than hope. I needed evidence. I needed to understand what the Bancrofts had done and why. That's when I remembered something. The Bancrofts didn't know about me. Something Michael had kept from them at my request because I didn't want them to feel threatened. I wasn't just a paralegal. I was a lawyer. I'd graduated from Emory Law School in the top 10% of my class. Passed the bar on my first try. I'd worked as a paralegal because Michael asked me to. Said his family would be intimidated if I practiced law, that it would create unnecessary competition and tension. So I'd put my career on hold. Worked as a paralegal at a small firm. Never practiced. Never used my degree. I'd made myself smaller to make his family more comfortable. That ended now. I called Maya. I need you to help me with something. Something big. Anything. I'm going to investigate the Bancrofts. Everything. Their finances, their business, their lives. And I'm going to find out what they did to Michael. Over the next month, I became obsessed. I used every skill I'd learned in law school and as a paralegal. Public records, corporate filings, property records, financial disclosures. The Bancroft family presented themselves as old money Atlanta royalty. Real estate empire, generational wealth, untouchable. But the public records told a different story. Bancroft Enterprises was drowning in debt, mortgages on every property, lines of credit maxed out, loans in default. They owed $18 million to various banks and creditors. The real estate empire was a house of cards about to collapse. I dug deeper, found shell companies, found transfers of money from Bancroft Enterprises to these companies, found that Robert and Caroline were the owners of these shell companies. They were embezzling from their own business. I traced the money. Over the past 5 years, they'd siphoned $6.3 million from Bancroft Enterprises into personal accounts, buying luxury cars, funding vacations, paying for Caroline's shopping addiction and Robert's gambling debts. But the most damning discovery came when I cross-referenced dates. Michael had discovered the embezzlement. I found his notes, pages of calculations, bank statements, transfer records. He'd been building a case against his own family. The last entry was dated 7 months ago. confronted Dad and Caroline today. Told them I'm reporting them to the board and possibly the authorities. They're stealing from the company, from our employees, from everyone. Dad threatened me, said if I reported them, I'd regret it. Caroline said I was choosing Kendra over family and there would be consequences. I'm scared, but I'm not backing down. Meeting with James tomorrow to finalize my will. Everything to Kendra. If something happens to me, she needs to be protected. 3 days after that entry, Michael's will with James Peterson was executed. 2 weeks after that, according to the Bancrofts, Michael supposedly signed a completely different will, leaving everything to them. The timeline didn't make sense. I needed to see the will the Bancrofts had filed. It was public record since they'd opened probate. I went to the courthouse, pulled the file. The will they'd filed was dated 6 months ago, signed at the Bancroft family estate, notarized by Gerald Morton, the family's personal attorney for 40 years, witnessed by 2 Bancroft Enterprises employees. I photographed every page. Then I pulled out documents I'd saved from our marriage, Michael's signature on our marriage license, mortgage documents, birthday cards, random papers he'd signed over the years. I laid them all out on Maya's dining table, compared signatures. Michael's signature had evolved over the years. His N had gotten more elaborate. His T in Bancroft had a distinctive loop. His signature slanted slightly right. The signature on the Bancroft will was close, but it wasn't right. The M was too simple. The T didn't have the loop. The slant was too pronounced. It was a good forgery. Professional. But it was a forgery. I took everything to a handwriting expert. Spent my last $2,000. His name was Dr. Raymond Cole, testified in court cases, highly respected. He examined the documents for 3 hours. Mrs. Bancroft, I can say with 95% certainty that this will was not signed by your husband. See these pressure points? When someone forges a signature, they often pause and restart, creating inconsistent pressure. Your husband's authentic signatures have smooth, consistent pressure. This one has multiple hesitation points, and the letter formation is imitative rather than natural. Someone copied his signature, but they weren't Michael Bancroft. Can you testify to that in court? Absolutely. I'll prepare a formal report. I had proof the will was forged, but I still didn't understand why. Then Maya found something while helping me search. Ken, look at this. She showed me a document, a loan agreement between Bancroft Enterprises and First National Bank of Georgia. Due date, 30 days after Michael died. Amount due, $12 million. They needed Michael's money, Maya said slowly. They needed his trust fund to make this payment. That's why they forged the will. They're bankrupt without it. I pulled up more records. The Bancrofts had been using Michael's trust fund distributions to keep the company afloat for years. $200,000 here. $300,000 there. Michael had been their bailout. When he discovered the embezzlement and threatened to report them, they lost access to that money, and they panicked. But there was one more thing I needed to know. Michael died of a sudden heart attack at 37, with no prior heart problems, no family history of heart disease. I requested his medical records. As his wife, I was still listed as next of kin. The Bancrofts had forgotten to change that. The autopsy report arrived a week later. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking harder with each pass. Cause of death, cardiac arrest caused by digoxin toxicity. Digoxin is a heart medication. Michael wasn't prescribed digoxin. He had no heart condition that would require it. But digoxin overdose causes heart attacks, especially in young, healthy people who aren't supposed to be taking it. Threatened to report his family. Changed his will to leave everything to me. Days later, he died of poisoning. Then his family forged a new will and took everything. This wasn't just fraud. This was murder. I called James Peterson. I need you to help me file a criminal complaint. I think Michael's family killed him. Based on what evidence? I told him everything. The embezzlement, the forged will, the autopsy showing digoxin toxicity, the timeline. We need to go to the police. Today, we met with a detective at the Atlanta Police Department, Detective Marcus Williams, Homicide Division. I laid out everything. He listened carefully, took notes, reviewed the documents I'd brought. Mrs. Bancroft, this is serious. These are significant allegations against a prominent family. I know how serious it is. I'm a lawyer. I know what I'm accusing them of. And I have evidence. Let me investigate. I'll need to review the autopsy again. Interview witnesses. Look at the financial records. This could take weeks. Take whatever time you need. Just promise me you'll actually investigate. Don't let the Bancroft name intimidate you. Ma'am, I don't care whose name is on the door. If they committed murder, I'll prove it. While the police investigated, I did something else, something the Bancrofts would never see coming. I started buying their debt. James Peterson connected me with financial contacts. I used Michael's real will, filed under seal with the court, as collateral. Banks were willing to loan me money against my pending $4.7 million inheritance. I borrowed $3 million. Then I approached the banks and creditors holding Bancroft debt. Most of them were desperate to offload it. The Bancrofts were about to default, and the debt was considered high risk. I bought their mortgages, their business loans, their lines of credit, paid 30 to 50 cents on the dollar. Within 6 weeks, I owned $12 million in Bancroft debt. They had no idea. James filed the will contest in probate court, presented Michael's real will, the handwriting analysis, the evidence of forgery. The Bancrofts fought back hard. Their lawyers argued I was a grieving widow making wild accusations, that I was unstable, that I was trying to steal from Michael's real family. But the evidence was overwhelming. The probate judge ordered both wills into evidence, ordered handwriting analysis, ordered financial disclosure from the Bancrofts. And while the probate case dragged on, the Bancrofts' financial situation got worse. Creditors started calling in debts. They couldn't make payments, couldn't refinance. Their house of cards was collapsing. 3 months after Michael's death, Bancroft Enterprises filed for bankruptcy protection, Chapter 11, Corporate Reorganization. And I filed as a creditor, the primary creditor, holding $12 million in debt. The bankruptcy hearing was scheduled. I marked the date on my calendar. And I went shopping for the perfect suit, because the Bancrofts were about to see me again. Not as the grieving widow they'd thrown out with trash bags, but as the lawyer who owned everything they had, and who was coming to take it all. The morning of the bankruptcy hearing, I stood in front of Maya's bathroom mirror, adjusting my navy blue suit, tailored, professional, powerful. My natural hair was styled in a sleek twist-out, diamond studs in my ears, gift from Maya, since Patricia had stolen my jewelry. I looked like exactly what I was, a lawyer about to destroy someone's life. "You ready for this?" Maya asked from the doorway. "I've been ready since they handed me trash bags and threw me out of my own home." James Peterson met me outside the federal courthouse. "Remember, stay calm, don't let them provoke you. We have all the evidence. just present the facts. I'm not here to lose my temper. I'm here to win. The bankruptcy courtroom was smaller than I expected. Sterile. Fluorescent lights. 20 rows of seats. The Bancrofts were already there with their legal team. 4 lawyers in expensive suits, all white, all men. Patricia, Robert, and Caroline sat in the front row. Patricia wore all black, like she was still in mourning. Caroline was texting on her phone. Robert looked older than I remembered, stress etched into his face. They hadn't seen me yet. I took a seat in the back, in the creditor section. Other creditors filtered in. Banks, contractors, vendors. All owed money by Bancroft Enterprises. The judge entered. Honorable Teresa Morrison, a black woman in her late 50s with silver locks and sharp eyes. Everyone stood. This is the Chapter 11 bankruptcy proceeding for Bancroft Enterprises and Robert and Patricia Bancroft personally. Let's begin with the creditors' presentations. First, we have representatives from First National Bank. A banker stood, presented their claim. $4.2 million owed on commercial properties. Default notices sent. No payments received in 6 months. The Bancroft lawyers responded with a reorganization plan, promises to pay over time, assurances of future revenue. Judge Morrison looked unimpressed but took notes. 3 more creditors presented. Construction companies, property management firms, all owed hundreds of thousands, all tired of waiting. Then Judge Morrison checked her list. We have 1 more creditor. Kendra Bancroft, or is it Washington? I stood. Every head in the courtroom turned. Patricia's face went white. Robert's mouth fell open. Caroline actually dropped her phone. It's Bancroft, Your Honor. Kendra Washington Bancroft. I walked to the front, my heels clicking on the tile floor. Past the Bancroft family's pew. Patricia grabbed my arm as I passed. What are you doing here? I looked at her hand on my arm. You have 3 seconds to let go of me. She released me like I'd burned her. I approached the podium. Judge Morrison studied me with interest. Mrs. Bancroft, you're listed as holding significant debt belonging to the Bancroft family. Can you explain? Yes, Your Honor. Over the past 3 months, I've purchased various Bancroft debts from multiple financial institutions. I currently hold the notes on the Bancroft family's personal residence, 4 commercial properties, and several business lines of credit. Total amount, $12 million. The courtroom erupted. The Bancroft lawyers were frantically whispering. Patricia was shaking her head. Robert looked like he might vomit. Judge Morrison banged her gavel. Order. Mrs. Bancroft, when did you acquire these debts? Beginning 2 months ago, Your Honor. I purchased them from banks and creditors who were eager to offload high-risk Bancroft obligations. I paid between 30 and 50 cents on the dollar. And what is your intention with these debts? I'm calling them in, Your Honor. All of them, immediately. As is my right as the note holder. One of the Bancroft lawyers shot to his feet. Your Honor, this is clearly a vindictive action. Mrs. Bancroft is angry about the estate settlement and is using this bankruptcy proceeding to... Estate settlement? I interrupted. You mean the forged will? The courtroom had been silent. Judge Morrison leaned forward. Excuse me? The Bancroft family presented a will claiming my late husband left everything to them. However, I have evidence that will was forged. I filed a contest in probate court with my husband's actual will, executed 7 months before his death with an independent attorney and witnesses. The real will leaves everything to me. I handed documents to the bailiff. This is a copy of the authentic will, along with a handwriting analysis from Dr. Raymond Cole confirming the Bancroft will is a forgery. Judge Morrison reviewed the documents. Her expression darkened. Mr. Orton, she addressed the lead Bancroft attorney. Were you aware of this probate contest? He was sweating now. Your Honor, that's a separate matter. It's not separate when it directly affects the assets in this bankruptcy. If Mrs. Bancroft's husband left her his portion of Bancroft Enterprises, she owns 30% of the company. That makes her not just a creditor, but a part owner. Patricia stood up, shaking. This is a setup. She's lying. Michael left everything to us. She's just angry because… Mrs. Bancroft, sit down. Judge Morrison snapped. You'll have your chance to speak. Patricia sat, but she was glaring at me with pure hatred. I continued. Your Honor, there's more. My late husband discovered that his father and sister were embezzling from Bancroft Enterprises. I have documentation showing systematic theft of $6,300,000 over 5 years. I submitted another folder. Bank records, shell company formations, transfer receipts, everything Michael had compiled before he died. Robert and Caroline Bancroft created shell companies and transferred company funds into personal accounts. My husband discovered this 7 months ago and threatened to report them. Days later, he changed his will, the real one, leaving everything to me and explicitly excluding his biological family. 2 weeks after that, the Bancrofts claim he signed a different will, leaving everything to them. Judge Morrison was reading through the evidence, her jaw tight. 3 weeks after the supposed new will, my husband died suddenly of a heart attack. He was 37 with no prior health issues. The autopsy revealed digoxin toxicity. Digoxin is a heart medication my husband was never prescribed. Your Honor, someone poisoned him. The courtroom exploded. Reporters in the back were typing frantically. The Bancroft lawyers were all talking at once. Order. Judge Morrison banged her gavel repeatedly. Order in this court. She looked at me. Mrs. Bancroft, are you accusing this family of murder? I'm stating facts, Your Honor. The Atlanta Police Department is currently investigating my husband's death as a potential homicide. Detective Marcus Williams is the lead investigator. I can provide his contact information. Robert stood, his voice booming. This is outrageous. I will not sit here and be accused of murdering my own son. Then explain the digoxin, I said calmly, turning to face him. Explain how a healthy 37-year-old man died of a drug overdose when he wasn't taking that drug. Explain why you forged his will days after he threatened to report your embezzlement. Explain why you threw his widow out with trash bags while you stole everything he left her. You're not his widow, Caroline screamed. You were never good enough for him. You trapped him. You were just a what? I stepped toward her. Say it, Caroline. Say what you've always wanted to say. I'm just a what? Caroline's face was red, tears streaming. You're just some ghetto girl who saw a rich white man. I have a law degree from Emory. I graduated in the top 10% of my class. I passed the bar on my first try. I worked as a paralegal because your brother asked me to, said it would make his family more comfortable if I wasn't competing with the Bancroft legacy. I made myself smaller to make you comfortable. I gave up my career to avoid threatening your egos. And the second Michael died, you threw me away like garbage. I turned back to Judge Morrison. Your Honor, the Bancrofts needed Michael's money to cover their debts and their theft. When he threatened to cut them off and report them, they killed him. Then they forged his will to steal his assets. Then they evicted me, hoping I'd be too poor and too broken to fight back. They underestimated me. Your Honor, James Peterson stood. I was Michael Bancroft's personal attorney. I can confirm everything Mrs. Bancroft has stated. I have the original will in my possession. I have emails from Michael expressing fear about his family's threats. I have documentation of the embezzlement he discovered. This family didn't just commit fraud. They committed murder. Judge Morrison sat back in her chair, processing everything. Mr. Thornton, what do you have to say about these allegations? The Bancroft attorney was pale. Your Honor, these are serious accusations made without. I have evidence, I interrupted. Bank records, forged signatures, autopsy reports, witness statements, police reports. Everything is documented. The Bancrofts murdered my husband, stole his estate, and threw me out thinking I couldn't fight back. Now I own $12 million of their debt. I'm about to inherit Michael's 30% of their company, and they're facing criminal charges. They thought I was powerless. They were wrong. Patricia lunged toward me. Security grabbed her before she reached me. You bitch. You destroyed our family. You took our son, and now you're taking everything else. I didn't take your son, I said, my voice ice cold. You killed him. Because he chose me over you. Because he was going to report your crimes. Because he was finally becoming the man he wanted to be, instead of the puppet you raised. You murdered your own child, rather than let him be happy with a black woman. Judge Morrison banged her gavel. That's enough. Mrs. Patricia Bancroft, one more outburst and you'll be removed from this courtroom. She turned to the Bancroft legal team. Gentlemen, I'm continuing this bankruptcy hearing for 30 days. In the meantime, I'm ordering a complete forensic audit of Bancroft Enterprises. I'm placing all assets under court supervision, pending resolution of the probate matter and potential criminal charges. And I'm granting Mrs. Kendra Bancroft's motion to call in her debts. Your Honor, that will force immediate liquidation, one lawyer protested. That's correct. The Bancroft assets will be sold to satisfy creditor claims, with Mrs. Bancroft as the primary creditor. I've reviewed her documentation. She legally purchased these debts. She has every right to collect. She looked at me. Mrs. Bancroft, I'm sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry for what this family put you through. Based on the evidence presented today, I'm also referring this matter to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. The courtroom erupted again. Reporters swarmed toward the Bancrofts. Security formed a barrier. I gathered my documents and walked toward the exit. Patricia broke free from her lawyers and blocked my path. This isn't over, she hissed. You think you've won? We'll fight this. We'll prove Michael left everything to us. You'll what, Patricia? Keep lying? Keep stealing? Keep pretending you didn't murder your son? I stepped closer. You made a choice when you threw me out with trash bags. You chose to believe I was weak, too poor, too ghetto, too broken to fight back. You chose wrong. Michael never loved you the way he loved us. Michael is dead because of you. He loved me enough to leave me everything. He loved me enough to cut you out of his will. He loved me enough to threaten reporting your crimes, even though it would destroy his family name. And you loved control more than you loved him. So you killed him. I walked around her. James was waiting by the door. Outside the courthouse, reporters mobbed us. Mrs. Bancroft, is it true you're accusing the Bancroft family of murder? I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm presenting evidence to law enforcement and letting them determine charges. How much money are you seeking? I'm not seeking money. I'm reclaiming what my husband left me and what his family stole. There's a difference. What happens to the Bancroft estate now? Everything will be liquidated to satisfy the debts they owe. The house, the properties, the business, all of it. They built their empire on theft and lies. Now it collapses. Do you have a message for the Bancroft family? I looked directly at the camera. You threw me out the day after my husband's funeral. You called me a gold digger. You made me pack my life in trash bags. You stole my engagement ring. You erased me from Michael's life. You thought I'd disappear quietly. You thought wrong. I'm a lawyer. I'm smart. I'm strategic. And I'm vindictive as hell when someone takes everything from me. You wanted me gone? Congratulations. I'm gone from your family. But I'm taking everything you have with me. Enjoy bankruptcy. I'll be at the auction when they sell your house. I walked away from the cameras, from the courthouse, from the Bancroft family that had tried to destroy me. Maya was waiting by the car. How do you feel? Like I just won round one. But the fight isn't over. What's next? Next, we wait for the criminal charges. We wait for probate to finalize. We wait for their assets to be auctioned off. And we watch them lose everything like they tried to make me lose everything. And then I build something beautiful from the ashes. Something Michael would be proud of. Something that helps people like me. Widows who get thrown away by families that never accepted them. I'm going to make sure no one else goes through what I went through. Maya hugged me. He'd be so proud of you. I hope so, because I'm doing this for him, for us. For every moment they made him ashamed of loving me. For every racist comment, every dismissive look, every time they made him choose between me and them, he chose me, and I'm going to make sure his choice meant something. We drove away from the courthouse. Behind us, the Bancroft family was surrounded by reporters, their perfect facade crumbling, their empire falling. Ahead of me was justice, freedom, victory, and the complete destruction of the people who'd murdered the man I loved. This was just the beginning. 6 months after the bankruptcy hearing, I stood in front of the Bancroft family estate, the sprawling mansion in Buckhead where Patricia had hosted garden parties and charity galas, where I'd been tolerated but never welcomed, where Michael had grown up in a gilded cage. Today, it was being auctioned. The foreclosure sign was still on the lawn. The gardens were overgrown. The fountain in the circular driveway had been drained. The house looked as dead as the family that had lived there. I didn't come to bid. I came to watch it die. Maya stood beside me. You sure you don't want to buy it? You could afford it now. I don't want their house. I don't want anything that carries their name or their history. I just want to watch someone else take it. The auction was packed. Real estate investors, developers, bargain hunters. The Bancroft name still drew a crowd, even in disgrace. The auctioneer started at $2 million for the 8-bedroom mansion on 3 acres. Bidding was fierce. It sold for $3.2 million to a developer who planned to tear it down and build townhouses. Patricia wasn't there to see it. She couldn't be. She was in jail. 3 months ago, she'd been arrested and charged with murder in the 1st degree. The DA had built an airtight case with the evidence I'd provided and the police investigation. Patricia had purchased digoxin under a fake name from an online pharmacy. Security footage from Michael's office building showed her entering the day before he died, something she'd claimed never happened. Her fingerprints were on the pill bottle found in Michael's desk drawer, the bottle that contained digoxin that killed him. Most damning, she'd confessed. Sort of. During interrogation, she'd said, I didn't mean to kill him. I just wanted him to get sick enough that he'd come home, that he'd need me to take care of him, that he'd remember his family comes first. I thought if he was weak and scared, he'd leave that woman and come back to us. I didn't know it would kill him. I just wanted my son back. The DA argued it was still murder, intentional poisoning, regardless of claimed intent. The jury agreed, convicted her of 2nd-degree murder after deliberating for 6 hours. Sentence, 25 years to life. She'd die in prison. She was 63. She'd never see freedom again. Robert got 10 years for embezzlement and accessory after the fact. He'd known about the forged will, had signed documents making it official, had helped cover up the poisoning by claiming Michael had a sudden heart condition. Caroline took a plea deal, testified against her parents in exchange for 5 years probation and community service. She'd cooperated fully, turned over documents, admitted to the embezzlement scheme, and her role in forging the will. She'd also apologized to me. Sort of. In a letter delivered through lawyers. Kendra, I'm sorry for how we treated you. I was raised to believe certain things about people like you. That you weren't good enough for our family. That you were after Michael's money. I was wrong. You loved him. Really loved him. And we killed him because we couldn't accept that love. I'll live with that forever. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know, I see now what I couldn't see then. You were always the best thing that happened to Michael. And we destroyed him trying to destroy you. I never responded. She didn't deserve my forgiveness. The probate case had been resolved 4 months ago. Judge ruled in my favor. Michael's real will was validated. The forged will was nullified. I inherited everything. The $4.7 million trust fund, the $2 million life insurance payout, Michael's 30% ownership of Bancroft Enterprises, which I immediately liquidated as part of the bankruptcy, the house in Virginia Highland, which was actually in my name, despite Patricia's lies, and various other assets. Total inheritance, $8.3 million. The Bancroft debts I'd purchased, satisfied through the bankruptcy liquidation. I'd made $4 million profit buying their debt cheap and collecting full value through the asset sales. I was worth over $12 million. The paralegal who'd been thrown out with trash bags was now wealthier than the family that had tried to destroy her. I'd moved back into the Virginia Highland house. It had taken months to make it feel like home again, instead of a crime scene of my former life. I'd redecorated, painted, removed everything that reminded me of the Bancrofts and kept everything that reminded me of Michael. His favorite chair, his book collection, the photos of us, not the wedding album Patricia had stolen. I'd bought it back at the estate sale, but the candid ones, the real ones, us laughing, us traveling, us being in love. I'd also done something Michael always wanted me to do. I'd started practicing law. Bancroft and Washington Law. My firm. My name alongside his. I specialized in estate litigation and family law. Specifically, cases involving widows and widowers who'd been disinherited by their spouse's family. My first client was a woman named Lisa Martinez, 38, Latina. Her white husband died of cancer. His family immediately presented a will, leaving everything to them, claiming Lisa had manipulated him while he was sick. It was the same playbook. I took her case, found the real will, proved forgery, won her $2.6 million. Word spread. I became known as the lawyer who destroyed the Bancroft family, who'd gone from homeless to millionaire in 6 months, who never lost. My client list grew. Widows and widowers from all backgrounds, all dealing with families that thought they could steal what wasn't theirs. I won every case, every single one, because I knew all their tricks, all their lies, all their strategies. I'd lived through it. The media loved it. From trash bags to triumph, Kendra Bancroft's fight for justice. The widow who destroyed Atlanta's elite family. How one woman took down a real estate empire. I did interviews, spoke at law schools, taught seminars on estate fraud and will contests. And I started a foundation, the Michael Bancroft Foundation for Social Justice, funded with $2 million from my inheritance. It provided free legal services for people who couldn't afford to fight estate battles. People like I would have been if I hadn't had my law degree and the skills to fight back. We'd helped 43 families in 6 months, recovered over $15 million in stolen inheritances, connected people with resources, provided support and advocacy. Every client I helped was Michael's legacy. Every family I saved was proof that his death meant something. 1 year after Michael's death, I returned to his grave. I hadn't been back since the funeral. It was too painful, but today I needed to tell him everything. The headstone was simple. Michael Robert Bancroft, beloved husband, gone too soon. I'd chosen the words, not his family, me. I sat on the grass beside his grave and told him everything. They're gone, baby. Your mother's in prison for killing you. Your father's in prison for covering it up. Your sister turned on them both to save herself. The house is demolished. The company is liquidated. The family name is ruined. Everything they built, everything they were so proud of, it's gone. And I did it. I destroyed them the way they tried to destroy me. I touched the headstone. I wish you could see what I've built. The law firm, the foundation, the families I've helped. I'm everything you always said I could be. I'm practicing law. I'm using my voice. I'm not making myself smaller anymore. You'd be proud. At least I hope you'd be proud. Tears streamed down my face. I miss you every day. I miss your laugh, your terrible jokes, the way you'd defend me even when your family made it clear I wasn't welcome. You chose me, Michael. Over and over, you chose me. And they killed you for it. But I made sure your choice meant something. I made sure they paid for taking you from me. I pulled out a letter, the one he'd left in the safety deposit box. You told me to fight. You told me I was stronger than they'd ever know. You were right. I fought. And I won. And now I'm helping other people fight too. Your death isn't meaningless. It can't be. I won't let it be. I sat there until the sun started setting, just talking to him, telling him about my cases, about the foundation, about Maya getting engaged, about my life that was somehow continuing even though he was gone. A voice behind me, Kendra. I turned. A man stood there, maybe 40, black, handsome, holding flowers. I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted to pay my respects. Michael was my friend. We worked together before I left the company. I'm Darius. I remembered Michael mentioning Darius, the one black executive at Bancroft Enterprises, the one who left after facing discrimination. It's okay. I was just talking to him. Darius sat down on the grass beside me. I heard what you did, what you uncovered. I'm sorry. I knew the family was bad, but I didn't know they were capable of murder. No one did. They were good at hiding it. I wanted to tell you something about Michael. A few months before he died, he told me he was planning to leave Bancroft Enterprises. Said he couldn't work with his family anymore after discovering what they'd been doing. He was going to start his own company. With you. Said you were the smartest person he knew, and he'd been holding you back by asking you not to practice law. My breath caught. He said that? He said he'd been selfish, that he'd made you small to make his family comfortable, that he was going to fix it. He wanted to build something with you, something ethical, something that mattered. He never got the chance, but I think what you're doing now is what he would have wanted. You're building it without him. But you're building what he dreamed of. Thank you for telling me that. Darius placed his flowers on the grave. He loved you, really loved you. Everyone could see it. His family hated it, because it meant they were losing control of him. But he didn't care. He chose you, and that's worth something. After Darius left, I sat alone with Michael's grave one more time. I'm going to live, baby. Really live. Not just survive. Not just exist. I'm going to build the life we should have had. The law practice, the advocacy work, the impact, all of it. And I'm going to do it in your name. So everyone knows that Michael Bancroft was more than his family, more than his name. He was a man who loved without conditions, who chose love over money, who tried to do the right thing, even when it cost him everything. Your family thought they could erase me, erase us. They were wrong. I'm here, I'm thriving, and every day I wake up successful and free is another day I prove they failed. They killed you, but they didn't kill what we built. They didn't kill the love, and they'll die knowing that. I kissed my fingers, touched the headstone one more time, and walked away. That evening, I had dinner with Maya and her fiancé at my house. The house I'd almost lost, the house that was now fully mine. "How was it?" Maya asked. "Going back to the grave?" "Hard, but necessary." I needed to tell him it was over, that I'd won. That they'd paid for what they did. What's next? You've won the legal battles. You've built the firm. You've started the foundation. What do you do now? I smiled. Now, I live. I date. I travel. I enjoy this life Michael left me, and I help as many people as I can. That's the victory. Not revenge, not destruction. Living well. Living fully. Living the life he wanted me to have. 3 months later, I met someone. At a legal conference in New York. Another lawyer, Marcus Reed, who specialized in civil rights. Black, divorced, no kids. Kind eyes, easy laugh. We talked for hours about cases, about justice, about the law. "You're Kendra Bancroft," he said. "I read about your case. What you did was incredible." "I just fought back." "You did more than fight back. You changed the conversation about estate fraud and family exploitation. You're a legend." I laughed. "I'm not a legend. I'm just angry and educated." Dangerous combination. We dated for a year before I let him stay overnight. Another 6 months before we talked about moving in together. "I don't want to replace Michael," Marcus said one night as we sat on my porch. "I can't replace him, but I want to build something new with you, if you'll let me." I'd like that. Building something new. Michael would want that for me. Would want me to be happy. Tell me about him. The real him. Not the headlines. Not the case. Him. So I did. Told Marcus about Michael's terrible sense of humor. His love of old movies. The way he'd dance in the kitchen when he thought no one was watching. His kindness. His growth. His love. He sounds like he was a good man. He was becoming one. His family tried to keep him from it, but he was trying. And he died before he could fully become who he wanted to be. But you're becoming who you wanted to be. That's his legacy too. 2 years after Michael's death, the foundation had helped 127 families, recovered $43 million in stolen inheritances, changed estate law in Georgia, made it harder for families to disinherit spouses through fraud. My law firm had grown to 15 employees. We'd won 98% of our cases. I'd been featured in Time magazine, The Widow Who Changed Estate Law. I'd spoken at the Congressional Black Caucus about protecting surviving spouses from family exploitation. I'd testified before the Georgia legislature about strengthening fraud protections in will execution. I'd become exactly what Michael said I'd always been, unstoppable. 3 years after his death, I got a letter from Patricia, from prison. "Kendra, I know you'll never forgive me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But I need you to understand something. I didn't hate you because you were black. I hated you because Michael loved you more than he loved me, more than he loved any of us. And I couldn't accept that. I'd spent 37 years being the center of his world, and then you came along and suddenly I wasn't. He'd choose dinner with you over holidays with us. He'd defend you over agreeing with me. He'd build a life with you that didn't include me. I lost my son to you, and I couldn't handle it. So I tried to make him sick. I thought if he was weak, he'd need me again. I didn't mean to kill him, but I did, and I have to live with that every day. You won. You destroyed us. You took everything. And you were right to do it. We deserved it. I deserved it. I just want you to know, Michael loved you more than anything, more than money, more than family, more than his own life. And that love was real. Don't let what we did take that from you. Patricia. I read it 3 times, then put it in a drawer with all the court documents. Evidence of everything that happened. I didn't respond. She didn't deserve my words. But I did take something from the letter. Permission to fully let go. Michael loved me. I never doubted that. But I'd been holding on to anger, onto grief, onto the fight for so long that I'd forgotten how to just be. That evening, I went to his grave one last time. I'm letting go now, baby. Not of you, never of you, but of the anger, the rage, the need to keep punishing them. They're already punished. Your mother will die in prison. Your father will get out an old, broken man with nothing. Your sister will live with guilt forever. I don't need to keep hurting them. I just need to keep living. I'm happy, Michael. Really happy. I have Marcus. He's good to me. Patient. Kind. He knows he's not replacing you. That no one could replace you. But he's building something new with me. And I think you'd like him. I think you'd want this for me. The foundation is thriving. The law firm is successful. I'm helping people every day. I'm making sure what happened to me doesn't happen to others. That's your legacy. Not the Bancroft name. Not the money. Not the empire. You, the man who loved me enough to protect me, even after death. That's what matters. I'm going to be okay. Better than okay. I'm going to live the life you wanted me to have. And I'm going to make sure your name, your real name, not the family name, means something good, something powerful, something that helps people. Thank you for loving me, for choosing me, for protecting me, for believing in me. I'm everything you said I'd be, and I'm finally ready to be happy. I hope wherever you are, you're proud. I hope you're at peace. I hope you know that love won. Not money, not family, not tradition. Love. Our love. And it always will. I walked away from that grave for the last time. Not because I was forgetting him, but because I was finally living. Living the life we'd planned. Living the dream he died protecting. Living proof that the Bancrofts couldn't destroy me. They'd thrown me out penniless. I'd walked into their bankruptcy hearing as the lawyer who owned everything. They'd called me a gold digger. I'd proven I was a gold miner, digging through their lies until I found the truth. They'd thought I was weak. I'd shown them strength they couldn't comprehend. They tried to erase me. I'd erase them instead. And now I was free. Finally, completely, beautifully free.